Just to say that we meant to start at 2 p.m., but we will give it a few more minutes because there are still people going through the process of registering and sanitizing outside. We are still going through this pandemic, so just bear with us and we'll start shortly. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you take your seats, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here this afternoon. What really is a sad occasion for a few communities, including the University of the Western Cape. But knowing Adrian Galagazzi, I know that you would have wanted us, she would have wanted us to celebrate her life and her times in the different worlds that she occupied and touched so many different lives. Now, before we start with the program, I just wanted to mention a few things. We are still in the midst of the pandemic, so I ask that we all maintain our social distance. This has become the norm now, with chairs not next to each other, but a few meters or so apart. And also to keep your mask on at all times. I also want to welcome the online audience watching, as the event is being live streamed as well. Adrian's passing last week really hit me quite hard, because I remember joining UWC in 2019 when we participated in our inaugural Varsity Cup competition, the first black university in the country to do so. And when I walked into the sports stadium for my first meeting to be part of this amazing team working behind the scenes to showcase this event for the university, Adrian was one of the first people I met. And I really was struck by her energy and her spirit. And what I saw in the hour that when I arrived was that collective energy from our UWC colleagues, everybody working together to put forward this event. And it reminded me of Adrian in a big way, because whether it was a match or a meeting, if somebody needed to go and run for water, it doesn't matter if you're a director or a manager, we all pulled together, and Adrian really epitomized that spirit of teamwork. So Adrian touched many lives, and we'll be hearing from many speakers here today. He touched lives in the LGBTQI plus community, in the university community, in sport, as a student who graduated at the University of the Western Cape, as a colleague, and indeed as a family member and friend. I'm going to invite a few speakers to come up and pay tribute to Adrian, but I also want to ask that we've got this beautiful props here to make the moment all the more special. So I'm going to ask whoever's coming up to the podium to please come behind this banner here and to make their way to the stage, because we don't want anybody tripping or falling. And so, as is customary with our events, and in this diverse and interfaith community of Cape Town, I want to invite Pastor Martin Coetzee to open up the proceedings. And whichever God you serve or believe in, you can say a quiet prayer for Adrian and for everybody else. Pastor Martin Coetzee. I will move on. Perhaps we can take a moment, just 30 or 40 seconds, to say a quiet prayer and reflection about Adrian's life. Thank you. I would like to call as our first speaker a man that would have been very close to Adrian's heart, and who Adrian spent most of her professional life working with. We know him as Mr. G. He is the director of UWC Sports Administration, and he's going to reflect on Adrian Galagazzi's professional life.
Colleagues, family and friends, before I speak about Adrian, I wish to first quote from the book of Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 to 3. Do not judge, or two will be judged, for in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? Unquote. I started working with Adrian in 2015, and as Hassan has just said, what amazed me and touched me about Adrian was her energy. She had lots of positive energy, and I got to really love her work ethos because of that energy. She was always loyal and committed to her work, and I never had any day where she would come and make an excuse for not doing her job. I used to delegate many tasks to her simply because I knew that she got along virtually with everyone at OWC. If I need someone at residencies to give us extra rooms for our first years, I knew that Adrienne was the go-to person because she had a way of trying to convince people to understand her way. Whether it was financial aid, with me trying to get more SMAs or trying to get my student assistants appointed, I knew I must send Adrienne because she will always come back with a positive response. What I always loved her was the spirit which she would constantly pester me for more funding for her clubs. Whenever she came to my office, she would first greet and say, Mr. G, you know there's only one reason I'm here. And I would say, okay, I know, how much do you want? Because that was the way and her passion towards her clubs. Our arrangement was that whenever it was business, she must make an appointment to see me. Because I knew that once I get an appointment notice from her, it was going to be about her wanting to come and ask for more money. So I must first look at my budgets before I can say, yes, you can see me or not. But the second part of that arrangement was that if it's personal, don't make an arrangement, just come and we'll talk. And that is what I always do with my colleagues. I always say, we are family before we are colleagues. We must look at one another as human before we can look at one another as colleagues. And Adrian really appreciated that. All of us at Sport had wonderful relationships with Adrienne. She was always the center at our parties. Whether on a road to end of the year function or we are organizing a sport award, Adrienne would always be the center of attention in that gathering. Adrienne was never too shy to ask for help from all of us as colleagues. I'm sure if we were to sit as colleagues and ask how many favors did you do for Adrienne, it would take all day for each person to count. She was always up front and forward to ask for help. And whenever Adrienne was struggling, she would call me. Whether it's at night or during the day, she would call me and say, when you get to office tomorrow, can I visit you? And she would come to office and sit in front of me and say nothing. And I would ask her, Adrienne, how are you doing? She would say, Mr. G, I'm fine. And I would ask her again, now tell me honestly, how are you doing? That's when the tears will start falling from both of us. I don't know how many times we have shed tears in my office. And all those tears were not for work. It were tears because Adrienne was struggling with many things in her life. Though she was good at asking for help, but there were circumstances that sometimes pushed her to try and fight her struggles on her own. I remember one time coming back from the airport at 9 o'clock at night. I saw Adrienne's car in the parking, and I approached the car only to find Adrienne sleeping in the car with her daughter. And I asked, Adrienne, what's wrong? She said, I've been kicked out of my flat. And I asked, don't you have any friends that can help you just to crash until you are sorted? She could not answer that question. She looked at me and tears fell off her eyes. Because I'm also a parent, I had to book a 2-night sleep for Adrienne at a hotel. And after 2 days, she came to me and said, Mr. G, I got accommodation. I'll be staying in Esterrefield. We had lots of arguments about her staying in Esterrefield, but she always told me that that is the place that she likes. What then I learned from those moments on, I learned that Adrienne was surrounded by many people, but very few of those people were her friends. Because I do not believe that someone would sleep on the streets if that person has got friends. Adrienne's weakness as a colleague was to always seek affirmation, whether from colleagues and from those people that we work with. Adrienne would always put a smile and laugh, whereas deep down you could see when you look in her eyes that Adrienne was hurting. Last year, we had very emotional meetings between myself and Adrienne. And in those meetings, it was not because Adrienne had done something wrong. It was because Adrienne was protecting a friend. And it got to a point where she even told me that, Mr. G, I'm prepared and I'm willing to lose my job. Because what I'm not going to do is to confess here and say my friend did it. And I kept saying, Adrienne, do you think this friend would do the same for you? Would your friend lose a job because of something that we have done? And she said, Mr. G, this is my friend. It is up to her whether she protects me or not. But as a friend, I am protecting her. I wish to thank my team and the UWC community for accepting Adrienne for who she was. We never asked her questions. We never went behind her back to try and find out who she really was. And we always appreciated that whenever we had our gender equality meetings, Adrienne would spend minutes educating us on gender issues. I remember one workshop that we had early last year where we invited the Gender Equity Unit to come and educate us on gender issues. The excitement was written all over Adrienne at that moment. She would speak and correct many of us. And whenever we made assumptions, she would stand up and happily correct that assumption. I think what we need to do from this day on, we do not need to ask why it happened, how it happened. We need to celebrate her life the way she lived it. Any other discussion about what happened and why it happened, it will be a discussion between Adrienne and her maker. May her soul rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. G. Somebody else who was very close to Adrienne and certainly touched her life during her time at the University of the Western Cape is currently the head of sports at the University of Stellenbosch, but is also a very important member of the UWC family. Not just as the director of sports there, but also as an alumna. And to tell us more about her role as a career mentor for Adrienne, I want to call upon Elam Groenewald to share a few words.
probably would have said, Miss G, why are you struggling to get onto the stage? Are you getting old? I was telling Nadia, as she was transitioning, I phoned her and I said, my child, you need to teach me the correct name to pronounce, correct way to pronounce your new name. And she said, ooh, Miss G, ten minste vra jy, anders maak net foute. It means that people wouldn't ask, they would make a mistake. My daughter said to me as I left the house that I shouldn't cry too much. I said to her, I will try. Adrian, my child, how do I say goodbye? Good afternoon, everybody, and all protocols observed. Thank you to the UWC colleagues, her family, and the friends for giving me this honor as a mentor to say a few words. Adrian, thank you for honoring me as your mentor, always, but it was much more than that. You are one of my many children at UWC, but a very special one. Thank you for always being there and sharing the best of you, and for caring and always giving your all. I reminded you on a regular basis to be careful and look out for those that might take advantage of your good heart. Thank you for not running away at times when I was too tough on you, because you knew that I was result-driven, but more importantly, I wanted the best for you. Thank you for always celebrating me and caring and always making sure that I'm okay, even though I was supposed to be your mentor. Especially making sure that either we have breakfast or lunch, even by that time of the decision, you had already made the choice what would be on the menu. Thank you for challenging me with respect. And of course, at times, as Mr. G said, you didn't give up easily. In fact, at times, you became quite stubborn. I can just imagine the many phone calls and the many chats you would have had by the time you returned back to my office with a more stronger proposition. And Mr. G, you're right, and I was chatting to Yalmin the other day. She always got, in most instances, what she was looking for. A few people reminded me about this characteristic when we heard of your passing, your untimely passing. Thank you for being part of my life for almost 8 years, including being yourself, and that includes the drama. Because all of it I appreciated. Thank you for the laughter. You remember the day, some of you here present, when David, now Camille, they decided to prank me when she dressed up so beautifully. Someone that came to my office who wanted to complain. And as we entered my office, we sat down, and I took this visit very seriously. A visit that had no appointment. And as we carried through the conversation, we heard the laughter in the corridor. Most of the dance sport students were there. In fact, I ended up only having dance sport student assistants in my office. And of course, I ended up swearing in my Northern Cape style. Yo, ... all to their joy. Thank you for making my days at work awesome in so many different ways. You taught me to dance. So Cheslin, I think he was a fabulous dancer. You were the coach. You would disagree with me, but we had a ball of a time. And sharing the opportunity, taking the time to share and the outfits that the dance sport would want to have for the USA competition or any other competition. In fact, it ended up being a parade. That reception area at UWC Sport was special. I remember when she had to go on shopping. Her shopping was the most important, taking up all of the time. Evelyn Jonathan, you will recall that. Thank you for allowing our relationship to be built on trust, respect and love, and for what you have taught me as my mentee, and I will always, always cherish that. To Misani Mtua, then now Don Dashe, shared with me your Sports Council pictures. And those pictures are special because when you started to take up leadership as young, vibrant students ready for the future, you reminded me of myself. And I suppose that's why we were able to build a strong connection. Thank you for your willingness to learn, to grow. Even after disappointments, you were willing to get up and you came back stronger. Thank you for making sure that the UWC Annual Awards every year was the event on the calendar. Not just the logistics, but our special dance at the Sport Awards. Thank you for blossoming as a student, a leader, an athlete, a volunteer, and an activist. And most importantly, thank you for honoring your queen, your mom, your late mom. Because you are with her now. Thank you for making choices that made you happy. Even when you went through a tough time, you had to overcome so many challenges, my child. But you kept on finding the spirit to come back. And like many of us in life, we pretend that we're okay. But we weren't. How many of you were not okay in the last 2 years? Please raise your hands. How many of you felt anxious in the last 2-3 years? Please raise your hands. How many of you lost loved ones during the last 2 years? Please raise your hands. You see, we all pretend at times that it is okay. Thank you for celebrating me even after I left UWC, visited my new place of work. And even then, I knew that our bond was too strong. Because you have certainly influenced my personal and my professional life. You've assisted me with my master's degree. He was a smart young person, then not so young anymore. But 34 is an awesome age for any person. I still consider that age to be young. I hope that I've taught you the important tools in life, my child, because you certainly taught me so much through your resilience and being unapologetic about who you are. I know that we together shaped the culture of UWC Sport with so many wonderful colleagues here present today. And I want to thank each and every one of you because you supported her during a time that both was celebratory but also challenging. I provided you with opportunities that you at times would question me, but I did so because I believed in you, my child, always. The list of students and staff who made up your circle is endless and beyond just UWC. And I appreciate it. Those who took the time to care and love you. My entire family. I'm devastated that you're gone. It still feels so unreal. A few months ago when my daughter, when we had a challenge with the matric board, guess who I phoned? I phoned Adrian. He said, Miss G, I'll access my circle. I said, I scanned the Facebook, I saw some fabulous outfits, surely we can't have a problem, my child. And when I shared the pictures, he complimented me. And we all know when it comes to looking awesome, you presented all of it. So I took that compliment. You saw my children becoming young adults, and they all know that I love you so much. I feel sad that I didn't see you more than I wanted since I left UWC. Yes, COVID happened. But I know that. And well said in the words of Mahatma Gandhi, that there are no goodbyes for us. Wherever you are, you will always be in my heart. Rest well, my child. Ambakatle, Rasach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ilan, for that heartfelt tribute. Now, we spoke about mentors, Ilan spoke about mentors, and in a took up the baton of reporting on the Miss Gay pageants. And it was very interesting last week when the first person who called me about the news of Adrian's passing was this young journalist, Venetia. I'm sure many people from the community know her. And this was more than a story for her. It was about how could she best celebrate this person who did so much work and so much important work, not just in terms of pageantry, but also creating awareness in the LGBTQI plus community. And Venetia actually opened my eyes to that work that I wasn't aware of. But to tell us more about that, about the pageantry and the work that Adrian did, please welcome Mr. Barry Reid.
Ms. G, I think Gali would have taken me on about not getting up on this stage to comfortably either. It would have been more about my weight than my age. So good afternoon, family and friends, both present, and those of you that are streaming in from all around the world. So last night around 10:30 p.m. after an afternoon with Kat and Errol, I finally got myself into a space to sit down and write this short tribute. The reason for this is because I actually dreaded this so much. Just over a year ago, I was in the same position. And that was to speak at the funeral of my dear friend Mark Ledal. It was because of Mark that I got to know Adrian, or Gali as she was known to me. For those who don't know, Mark and I run Miss Gay Wisdom Cape as well as the Miss Cape Town Pride pageants, and as such have over the years gotten to know most of the pageant and drag talent that South Africa has to offer. Gali entered the pageant scene with great gusto and determination a good couple of years ago. And I'm sure you'll hear a lot about that determination and gusto from the other speakers. I've had the privilege of knowing Gali now for around 8 years. And as you all know, once you got to know Gali, automatically you were in her family circle. As is in sport and any other challenges that one enters, we look to role models or experts in the fields to guide us and assist us. In the drag world, we know it as joining a house, where one finds your drag mother as well as drag sisters, who you then turn to for help. These mothers and sisters become more than advisors, they become your family. I asked her drag mother from the house of Jaladi, Kat Jaladi, if she'd like to speak today. And Kat has asked that I rather read something for her. So if you allow me, I'm going to read what Kat has written. 6 years ago, I received an inbox on Messenger from someone asking me if I might be able to assist them with participating in the Miss Gay pageant, as one day she would love to be an ambassador for this pageant. I gave my number, and just like that, we were spending so much time together. Adrian wanted to be a part of the LGBTIQA+ Cape Town community, as this is where she felt she belonged. She put in the hard work when her drag journey began with me. She was open to criticism and gave it back just as hard, constantly referring to me as Mark Deneau's daughter, always saying, like father, like daughter, Yela Marka to Makiki. And then she would burst out laughing like only she could, making everyone around her laugh. She set her sights on pageants like Miss Drag Ambassador, Miss Cape Town Pride, and the big one for her, Miss Gay was the Cape. Putting in the work every day, sending me pictures of dresses, swimsuits, theme wear, costumes, any time of the day. Living in the moment of finalists growing closer as friends, and loving the fact that she could do more with her humanitarian title. Adrian actually didn't need a title. She was there to educate, learn, and be with like-minded people. It took her a while to realize that what she had was special in the drag world, and it set her apart from others. Her witty mind, her goals, her kindness, the pure goodness that you could feel when in her presence. When she called me mother, the affectionate term obviously used in drag, I felt it was from a space of respect and love, and she wanted to achieve everything that she ever wanted. Winning Miss Drag Ambassador gave her so much eagerness to continue, and I told her, when she feels ready for another big pageant, she should let me know, and in early 2020 she said, Mother, I'm ready. And so began the hard work and focus on her Miss Pride journey. Winning that title was like confirmation for Adrian that she was on the right path and she was having fun doing it. Every day for a month, she would send me a thank you message, thanking me that I was in her life and that I was pushing her not to stop. And with that came more positive energy of now pursuing her goal to be successful in the Miss Gay pageant. I'm thankful for having Adrian in my life, and I will forever remember the wonderful human that I got to know. I will always love you, Gali. Rest in peace, dear daughter. Fly high with the angels. Thank you, Kat. So my memory of Adrian is that of a highly determined individual with dreams and aspirations to ensure that we as a community were not divided. Her laugh and sense of humor will be fondly remembered. She entered many a pageant, winning many, placing first or second princess, but at all times she was gracious about it and highly supportive of her fellow contestants. Notably, she won the Miss Drag Ambassador, Miss Gay Humanitarian titles, as well as the Miss Cape Town Pride title. She was always looking at ways to celebrate and unite the community. Who can forget the extremely successful LGBTIQA+ sports day, gathering queens to play the likes of netball, touch rugby, soccer, and even the 100-meter high hill race. Her annual high teas were well supported and a lot of fun, with Adrian's hats being a talking point, as always. She was determined to make a difference and become that role model and person to look up to. Had it not been for this pandemic, I'm certain we would have enjoyed more of these events. I remember fondly also her close bond with Mark. He knew just how to work her up, rile her, tease her, and shade her. And she would always laugh and say, "Vijay, die man." But to those who knew Mark, it was all from a place of love. He spent many hours with Gully, visiting, traveling around the Western Cape, and their unspoken bond of love and respect was a strong one. When it came to pageantry, Adrian often turned to Manila Vanties for assistance with garments and costumes. This turned into long conversations between the two of them, with Gully often telling Manila how proud she was of her achievements. And it's at this point I'd like to call Manila, please, to come up and deliver her tribute to Adrian.
We're part of something way bigger. God we belong. To God we return. You find yourself in a room with all the people you lost, and you dance with joy as pure as your Father's face.
Thank you, Manila. You know, it's been a really tough couple of years, and we've lost so many wonderful people. I often get asked, when is the next pageant? And honestly, I'm dreading them. It's super tough to plan when you know the people who've passed, who were a huge part of it. Then you also remember the reasons you do it, and know it's time to put on your big girl panties and push through. In closing, I spoke about this at Mark's funeral, but before his passing, we got to have super in-depth conversations about life, about where we want to be, and about celebrating life and successes. As I said in his eulogy, funerals are not to be the only time we get to say how amazing someone is or was. We need to make time to celebrate each other more. It doesn't have to be huge. Just invite a couple of friends over and have a night where you just tell each other how much you love the other person and congratulate them on their achievements. We really need to love more, to love and support each other, now even more than ever. I did this at Mark's funeral as well, and I want us to do it today. Please, right now, I want each of you, wherever you are, to turn to the person next to you and say it loudly and boldly. I love you. To all the friends and family of Gali, my deepest and sincerest condolences. Her legacy will live on strongly through you all. Gali, we will miss you beyond measure. We will celebrate you, and most importantly, everyone, again, please loudly repeat after me. We love you, AJ Galagatsi. We love you, AJ Galagatsi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barry and Manila. To tell us more about Adrian's activism, I'd like to now call on Liberty Matthys to join us on stage. Thank you.
Ilam, Mr. G, I think Adrian would have said this is no longer about us, no? It's about UWC, not putting a step here. Thank you for that tribute, Manila. Indeed, we are part of something much bigger. But as a trans woman myself, how many of us as trans women and gender diverse persons believe that we are part of something much bigger in a world that keeps on telling us no. No to our existence. Sometimes in covert, overt, harsh ways, and sometimes in covert and subtle ways. And then we must go back and make sense of it and questioning, do we form part of the bigger picture? Greetings everyone. And thank you so much for inviting me on behalf of Gender Dynamics also to speak today. And not just in context of the passing of Adrian, but also with the voice of many trans and gender diverse persons. This is now the umpteenth time in the past 2 years that I'm standing at a memorial or at a funeral of a transgender woman, transgender person, gender diverse person. Lee Davids, Netta Marcus, Roxy Koort, Jennifer, Gabby, and now Adrian Galagazzi. The list goes on. I want to contextualize my reflection and indicate that in as much as I will be speaking to the loss of Adrian, I also think it's important to again reiterate that Adrian, as a transgender woman, isn't the only person, only woman in the trans and gender diverse community that gets killed by a society that's inherently transphobic. Famous feminist scholar and activist Audre Lorde asserts, caring for self is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and it is an act of political warfare. The reason why I'm saying that to all of my trans and gender diverse siblings in the room today, take care of yourself, put yourself first. Discern as to who is in your corner and who will be in your corner when you need them the most. Because moments like these will come and then we say, if only decisions sometimes were different, the support might have been there. I have no words to describe the heartache associated with the loss of a sister, who I had the privilege to study and work with during my time at the University of the Western Cape, and also a sister that I had the privilege of ramping with on the Miss Western Cape stage and the Miss Ambassador stage. And I'm not saying gay intentionally, because Adrian Galagazzi was not gay. Adrian Galagazzi was a transgender woman. And there's a distinct difference. We use gay pageantry as an opportunity to find a safe space for us to mobilize from, where there are no other spaces in society. So let us not conflict the two and think because we are participating within these spaces, that means that we are gay. We are not gay. We are transgender women. Adrian Galagazzi was a woman, firstly, that happened to be transgender. Much like somebody who was assigned female at birth would be a woman, firstly, that happens to be cisgender. She was a leader, an ambassador, and a great contributor in the fields of sport and higher education. And this was groundbreaking. I don't think that the sports department might know how lucky you were to have her in a discipline such as sport. A discipline such as sport that contests our belonging consistently. And I try and think about what would have been the impact, the future impact, that a strong, capable, competent woman like Adrian could have played in further strengthening such a discipline at UWC, but also nationally and internationally. That is the price we pay now, not knowing. It's the price we pay for living in a transphobic society that robs us of talent and potential to take our societies forward for the purpose of advancing. Adrian brought community together and gave selfishly of herself. She was always ready to assist, and I remember when we started the student group on campus, Kayla, it was best look it was. But Adrian was the one that could fight at sports for a venue there at the back in the blue room. I don't even know if they call it the blue room anymore. but always ready to assist, to open up space for activism, for community organizing, and for some of you who might not necessarily be in community organizing, you will never know how strategic that is, to have people in different spaces willing to hold space for others in order to advocate for change. There was a humility about her that people could always resonate with. She was confident, beautiful, and bold. And that is how I will always remember her. Such a young life taken away from us prematurely has sent shockwaves through our communities. She was in her 30s, and it once more confirms global research findings that indicate that the life expectancy, and I want you to listen carefully, the life expectancy of the average transgender woman of color in this world is 35 years old. For us, some of us who might be older than 35, every day that you live as a transgender woman of color in this world is a blessing. Transgender people and women in particular carry a disproportionate burden when it comes to mental health concerns. And it is not because we are transgender. I want to put that in context. It's because of the consequence of living in a society that is inherently transphobic. Imagine walking down a road every single day in a world that keeps on telling you no, you shouldn't exist. Going to work and feeling like it's a no, you shouldn't exist. Navigating your time with friends, it's a no, you shouldn't exist. Going home to families, it's a no, you shouldn't exist. That is the reality of our lives. So I'll always be haunted, and I think I'm haunted as a transgender woman. And I think many transgender women and queer people in particular are haunted by the question every single day, am I enough? When will I be enough in this world? And so the loss of Adrian is deeply felt, and she will be dearly missed. My condolences to her loved ones, family, friends, and colleagues who we know were great supporters of her gender affirmation journey. May you find strength in the love and support you bestowed upon her during the course of her life. The passing of Adrian stands as a reminder of how we must destigmatize talking about our mental health, including depression and suicidal ideation. A person doesn't wake up one day and decide to take their own life. That doesn't happen. And somebody on Facebook, as I was posting a shortened version of this tribute, said that death by suicide can also be a choice. And then I stand here and I'm like, but it wasn't that in this case. Because that gives the illusion that there's agency and autonomy. And as a transgender woman, I know the agency and autonomy that we are deprived of on a daily basis that drives us to depression, anxiety, and suicide. So, getting to that point is a slow build-up of the various ways in which a transphobic society fails us as trans and gender diverse persons. Unsupportive workplaces where people are not sensitized and sensitive. Hostile families where people do not want to come to terms and embrace us for who we are. Friendship circles that only show up for us through the good times. And that needs to be said, particularly within our queer community. And we must discern between perhaps the boring ones that will be there to hold you and support you, and the ones that are the fun ones and the party animals that is only going to give you a good time for a brief moment, and then that's that. faith-based communities that judge us harshly and turn us away from our God, all contribute to why trans and gender diverse persons make the difficult and painstaking decision to take our lives. I can only imagine how alone, unseen, unheard and unloved Adrian felt. In the last moments before she decided that life was no longer worth living. As a survivor of 2 suicide attempts myself, I understand the worthlessness, helplessness, and despair. And experiences before attempting suicide. If my mother was not there the first time, I would have likely not been able to not be standing here today. If my chosen family didn't show up for me, the ones that truly love me, and that I could discern that that is real love vis-a-vis other forms of love within the circles that I navigated, I would have probably not been able to stand here today. So every day and every moment we navigate our lives with other people that says no to our existence, we must act resiliently in light of that. But resilience too has a limit. And so as I'm standing here today, as we say goodbye to Adrian, we remember the positive qualities that she infused into our lives. But we also remember how far we need to go as a society to create enabling, loving, embracing environments so that somebody never has to turn to suicide as a way out. We must recognize the role that we play in it, but we also must not play the blame game in the same vein. We can do better in terms of understanding trans and gender diverse persons. Again, to the family, friends and loved ones of Adrian, find peace and strength in knowing that you did what you could to support her and continue to show up for those around you who might not necessarily have the best mental health. Thank you.
Thank you, Liberty, for those very powerful and educational words. We can all do better in a society that we strive to be more inclusive, and embrace people and not other than. Adrian gave a lot of energy to a lot of sporting codes at UWC. Whenever there was an event or sporting meeting, Adrian would be there. But I think, a lot of energy was also devoted to netball. And I think that was part of the starting base. I see Elan Groenewald nodding there because it's also a love of hers. So to talk about Adrian's love for netball and the contribution she made at the University of the Western Cape, but also to the higher education netball landscape, I'm going to call on Danley Matthews to say a few words.
It is indeed an honor for me to be able to talk about Adrian's netball life. He was definitely the sunshine in our netball community. I've been working with Adrian as the head coach of UWC for the last 2 years, but I've known not longer. She. I've been working with Adrian for 2 years as the netball coach, but yeah, I've known her for longer than that in the netball community. As a player, as a coach, umpire, but also as an administrator in the university setup, as well as in our Cape Town Netball Federation setup. Adrian was a good player. She played for the Cape Town Netball men's team, and her dancing skills definitely were shown on that platform, because she could dodge and roll and play good netball, and I think that stems from her netball, her dancing skills. She was also a coach and an umpire in the netball fraternity, and administratively she was recently still the chair lady of the Cape Town Northern Sub-District that are aligned with the Cape Town Netball Federation. And yes, her leadership came through. She was always willing to assist and help in the netball community. But when it came to UWC, there was a special place for netball. She would go out of her way to make sure that our ladies were sorted. As Mr. G said, she knew how to do the right system, if I can put it like that. She knew who to go to ask for certain things, and she also knew who to send at certain times if she couldn't go. Adrian was definitely a mother to our netball world. There were quite a few netball players that really struggled financially and mentally, and she was the one that would